Great, welcome back. So in this video we're going to talk about the importance of body language. Use your body language to reinforce the meaning that you're articulating. Okay. Now you probably notice I speak with my hands a lot. Okay, that's very much an approach that I recommend. Okay, but you don't have to just use common hand gestures, right? I had one girl. She was giving a pitch and she was a high jumper, right, for a track team, and she says, "Yeah, this equipment is going to launch you over the bar." And see, I totally got that. It's like a body launching over the bar, and she went like that. That was a good metaphor, right? It's a good metaphor with good accompanying body language. But again, don't be so stiff. And by the way, record yourself, look at yourself in the mirror. Don't do strange things while you're pitching. I've seen people do all sorts of weird stuff with their foot, like they're shaking around, you know, doing stuff. There was one guy, and I could tell he was a brilliant engineer, but he loved to pick his nose. And, you know, as he was giving his pitch, you know, he starts, instead of just scratching his nose and getting it over with, right, while he's pitching, he was like, I don't know, like taking his finger and like massaging the edge of his nostril, and all people could focus on was the fact that he'd been picking his nose the whole pitch. I mean, put your finger in your nose, scratch it, and get it over with if you must, if you can't wait for, 30 seconds before you do it. And the best part is after he'd picked his nose, he didn't even think about it. He just went, "Oh, it was awful." Don't do anything like that during your pitch. Don't do anything gross during your pitch. This goes into body language, okay? People observe that, okay? Feel free, if you're making a list, use your hands. 1, 2, 3, 4, whatever you're doing. That's okay too. Point at people. Have you ever had one of those days? I bet you and I can share this in common. Okay, see, now that goes into including people into the pitch, right? Again, any other kinds of gestures, but what you don't want to do is just be rigid and stiff like a board. Use your hands, use your body to reinforce the meaning. I remember, I don't know if this is a good example of a pitch or not. Some of you may be familiar with that group, I think it was like during the 1960s and 1970s, they were called the Manhattans. They sang, I actually like the music a lot. But there was one guy who was doing a marijuana dispensary for his idea, and the whole thing it was kind of a train wreck, but it was kind of cool. So he was rapping, his pitch. He rapped the whole thing. And he had 3 ladies pitching with him. And they would do like the Manhattans thing. And I still remember the pitch to this day. He'd go, "You know you're gonna go pro smoker after you try Leo's toker." That was kind of the chorus to his pitch. I mean, this was like 4 or 5 years ago, and I still remember, right? And I remember the girls behind him. They'd go, "You know you're gonna go pro toker once you try Leo's pro smoker." But except they couldn't sing, they didn't have any rhythm. I mean, I kind of embellished it a little bit for Leo's benefit. But the point is, in a weird way, it reinforced what he was doing because they were kind of dancing, and it made the stuff stick somehow. If that works for you, you rock it, okay? There's a lot of creativity that you can use in a business pitch, especially with your body language, okay? But use it to reinforce your meaning. I was working with one student, and he talked about, he said, oh, and one other thing for pitches, don't do informal surveys. A lot of people say, "All right, raise your hand if you've ever," whatever. Don't do that. Because a lot of the audience, they won't realize that you're talking to them and that they're supposed to raise their hand. They'll just sit there and look at you. And then you look like a fool. It's like, wow, nobody's had that experience? Probably everybody in the room has had that experience because, again, you're using some sort of a generalized fact or generalized experience. But don't say, "Raise your hands if you've ever." No. There was one guy, and I worked with him after. He was talking about, "Yeah, my idea is basically you like adopt a homeless person. And, we just need to round these people up and get them somewhere they need to be." Well, and I even said, "What is that supposed to mean?" He said, "Well, it was like a police siren." I said, "Well, that, it was just bad all the way around." But I remember that was his body language, "We just need to round these people up and get them somewhere." It was a little over the top, and his idea didn't get funded. So make sure that your body language reinforces your message. Great, I hope you enjoyed this video. Now we're going to talk about how to properly state a problem and a solution, and how to include members of your audience into your problem solution statement. Hope you've enjoyed this video. If you like it, give me a thumbs up, subscribe down below, or post some comments. Thanks, I'll see you then.